I thought The Triangle of Sadness was a brilliant film, quite frankly, for the reasons that you say. What is a resistance, and how is it that what you resist can nevertheless enter you and take you over, or partially take you over, or you realize that there's a kind of constant failure involved in a resistance to something that is that powerful. Tar I found complicated. I wasn't as much a fan as some other people that I know. I accept the thesis, as it were, that that women harass, men harass. They, as professors or as mentors, we do have a certain kind of power. People who work with us depend on our ethics because their well-being and their futures depend on our ability to support them. And when we undermine their well-being by getting involved with them or by involving them in our own narcissistic circuits, we fail as mentors. We fail ethically. So even though I think there's lots of libido everywhere, that doesn't mean we act on it all the time. And in certain circumstances, it's benign, and in others, it's actually potentially undermining. But then I have to ask, like, for that film, the way it gets taken up, like, oh, good, finally, we now see that women harass too, and that means it's not a problem for men to deal with, or it's not primarily a problem for men to deal with. And I think for most people who think about this, most of the harassers are men, and which doesn't mean that women don't exploit narcissistically their students in ways that are unacceptable. But I do believe that the film shifts from the tries to erase the structural problem of harassment as mainly one in which more powerful men are exploiting less powerful women. So the heteronormativity of harassment, the masculine privilege that harassment articulates, that gets backgrounded. So on the one hand, yes, of course, there are women and it's wrong. On the other hand, if we make that into this central statement at this moment in time, are we deflecting from the structural dynamics that should be the focus? I think I also think there was something else going on in that film about kind of European civilization and the love affair that this working class American had with certain civilizational ideals, which I found very painful. The class dimension of that film wasn't talked about as much as some others. And I also found rather disturbing the final scenes, which struck me as a kind of rank Orientalism. I wasn't quite sure whether we were supposed to think that being in a nameless East Asian country, possibly Thailand, and playing in that setting with people in masks and costumes was like the most demeaning thing in the world you could do. Were we also asked to as viewers to agree that this was vulgar and horrible? I mean, it was vulgar and horrible in light of her values, but are they supposed to be our values as well? And I was very suspicious of that ending and thought that the film was maybe complicit in the idealizations that it was also trying to expose.